All right, so next on the docket, California Congress passes bill banning voter ID laws. This is where I think, right now the Congress just tied the SAVE Act. I should probably pull that up. Let me pull that up while we're talking about this. GOP senators look to tie crackdown on non-citizen voting to must-pass spending bill. Okay, so I'll bring this up into this. We'll go down through the California thing first, but I did want to put this on the end of there. So I looked up the statistics. The majority of Democrats, the majority of non-white voters. So this isn't a white patriarchy. This isn't a white man thing. This isn't a white person thing. This isn't. It has nothing to do with race or men it's across the board. Democrats, non-white voters, both support voter ID laws. And this is from 2021, which means this is after the last election, okay? This isn't before Trump and the Biden. This is after the Trump-Biden thing. And most people are into it. Listen to these numbers, though. The survey asked respondents whether, in general, they support or oppose requiring voters to show a photo ID in order to vote. Among respondents, 62% of Democrats said they supported requiring photo ID, while the number rose to 87% among independents. So even independents at 87% say this is something we need to be doing, and 91% of among Republicans. They say additionally, 84% of non-white correspondents say they supported requiring photo ID, along with 77% of white respondents. So as a matter of fact, 7% more non-white respondents say they want voter IDs, even more than the white respondents. So stop saying that it's because minorities can't figure out how to vote, minorities can't figure out how to use the computer, minorities can't figure out how to get IDs. It's BS. It's BS, and everybody knows it. Here's what's funny, though. People with college degrees were less likely to support ID requirements because of the college indoctrination, and they think that anybody that doesn't have a degree or that has skin slightly darker than, say, me, are obviously, ists and phobes. Those are the people that are against it, basically, is the lefties. Now, where the SAVE Act would change is they will require you to show citizenship, not just a photo ID, because now we're giving social security numbers out to illegal immigrants, and we're giving photo IDs and driver's licenses out to illegal immigrants. And so when that's the case, well, we're going to have to crack it down. And the Democrats are very big on saying we didn't keep the border open to get a bunch of voters. That's not why we kept the border open. They deserve to be here. Also, the moment they're here, why don't we let them vote? And so it's kind of a shell game, and the jig is up. We know what's up. Let me quickly talk about the wellness company. You guys know I've been talking about this a lot recently. But now you hear Dr. Fauci and the West Nile virus, and he got the West Nile virus, and there's 33 counties going into lockdown because of West Nile, and then they got the bird flu crap that's coming about, and then they got the bird flu summit that's coming out, and they're going to push something. I don't know what it is, but they've got to pull out absolutely everything. You know this. They're going to be pulling out bird flu. They're going to pull out all the stops. They have to. Well, the company, wellness company, when they reached out to me and they're like, check it out. Look, I know some of you don't agree necessarily with Drew Pinsky. Drew Pinsky was big on the jab. I still listen to Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla on the Adam Carolla show, and Drew was all in on it, and Adam wasn't, and Adam was trying to say I'm not taking it, and Drew said I did, and then he got hurt by it, and then he started looking into it, and he's like, okay, I changed my mind. So Peter McCullough, which I have high regard for, and Drew Pinsky, they're on the board of members of this stuff. Well, they got a contagion kit. It's got the good stuff. It's like toilet paper during the last lockdowns. Like, you never know you need it, but then when you need it, you can't get it. And that's kind of how that goes. But they've got this contagion kit, hydrochloroquine. Let me zoom out. Holy cow. My eyes are so bad. Where did it go? IVERMECTIN, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, nebulizers, with budesonide, which takes away inflammation in the chest. Tamiflu. It works on everything, guys. And they set up a page. You guys can go to twc.health /oddmanout, all one word. Go check out their contagion emergency kit. That's the one that I've got. And the contagion kit carries most of what the medical emergency kit carries, so I'm good there. But make sure to go out, grab one, get it before you need it. All the stuff is refillable. It's good to have on hand, and that way if they lock everything down and everybody's freaking out, you don't have to be freaking out as well. So go over to twc.health /oddmanout, get your kit, get covered. It's less than the cost of running to the doctor. You get all the meds you need. And it's refillable. It's available only here in the United States because we're awesome and the rest of the world is not. I've got this video I want to play. This is an older video, okay? This came out years ago. So I don't want to pretend like this is like breaking news or anything. Let me pull up my full screen. I don't want to pretend like this is breaking news or anything. But this is I think it was Avi Yemeni is his name, and he went around interviewing people on what they think about photo ID and voting. I'm going to play a little bit of this for us.
Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad.
I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
Do you hear how it's the bigotry of low expectations? How insulting is this? Now, of course, most of them are college kids. And then, of course, you have this older dude that, well, you see, these poor people, they don't have the access. They don't have the ability to get to the internet and, Well, how do you think they buy cigarettes or drive or have a job or buy alcohol or get a plane ticket? Like, it is, this shows you the inherent true racism of the elite left college educated. How annoying is that? God.
Get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think
you have to be able to pay an internet provider for certain fees, and you have to have access to the internet? So apparently now black people don't have enough money for a cell phone. Yeah, Kathy Holcher is another one. Black people don't understand computers. But black people keep voting for them. Black people keep voting for them. Black people keep voting for. That's what just, you know what? I'm going to insult a lot of black people right now. I'm going to insult a lot of black people right now. You ready? These people think black people are stupid. These people are overwhelmingly leftard Democrats. And they say black people are stupid. And then black people keep voting for them. Black people, you're kind of proving their point. That's all I'm saying. If somebody says you're stupid, you're too stupid to have your own ID and voter. Oh, I'm Democrat. I'm definitely Democrat. If all of them are saying that and they're all lefties, and then they say you better vote for us or you ain't black, like Joe Biden says, and then you go out and vote for them, okay. You're kind of proving their point. I'm just being honest.
think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
You're too stupid, black people. You're too stupid to know how IDs work.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed.
I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African American.
You just heard. Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes. because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so like we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. Like, that's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, an ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy camera?
I know, right? That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that, on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know what?
My man's he's like 125th and 3rd Ave. I couldn't tell you. I've lived here now 2 years. I couldn't tell you where the DMV is. Again, it's the bigotry of low expectations. This is why, as a matter of fact, Kamala Harris just did this. She was in Detroit, and then she went to Philadelphia. I think it was Philadelphia. Yeah, it was Detroit and then Philly. And she used a different accent in the same part of her speech for both cities, because it was the same speech on the same teleprompter, because that's how she operates. And she used an accent in Detroit and didn't use one in Philly. And there's a story out there. I didn't pull it up for this. There's a story out there that the left, when speaking to groups of minorities, dumb down their language. That it's the bigotry of low expectations. I'm not going to play through the rest of this. You kind of get it. From Senator Dave Min, he announces a bill to prevent unlawful voter ID requirements. Now, this is a little bit older, but they're pushing it through. And Republicans that pushed back were getting hell. And remember, California is a supermajority Democrat state, so Republicans cannot get anything done in that state. If you're a Republican in California, you don't have, you have House members, you have Senate members, but it never goes anywhere. Like, there's a supermajority. So they say today, Senator Dave Min introduced Senate Bill SB 1174 to prohibit local governments from imposing voter identification requirements in local elections. This is for local elections. Amidst a growing wave of local election interference, they say. SB 1174 puts a stop to cities, including charter cities, seeking to exploit loopholes in state law that guard against racial bias and other forms of discrimination that often follow ID requirements. And now there's a clash over voter ID escalating, and this is from just a couple days ago. California Attorney General sues Huntington Beach, California. They say the Center Square, the California legislature, passed a bill banning local governments from adopting voter identification laws for local elections. California does not require identification to vote, but earlier this year, the city of Huntington Beach approved a voter ID requirement for municipal elections starting in 2026. They say an overwhelming body of evidence proves that voter ID laws only subvert voter turnout and create barriers to law-abiding voters, wrote bill author, State Senator Dave Min. That's the guy that I just was reading before. Well, they say State Assembly member Bill Asali, I guess, introduced a failed amendment to the bill that would have explicitly banned undocumented immigrants from voting. So, Assemblyman Bill Asali, a Republican from Corona, introduced an amendment to the bill that says we want to ban undocumented migrants from voting. And they say undocumented immigrants are able to secure California identification numbers, and non-citizens are allowed to vote in local school board elections in San Francisco. And Huntington Beach, neighboring city of Santa Ana, is considering following San Francisco's lead. So it always starts this way. But think about this, right? It starts this way. Well, you can't vote for federal elections. Okay, but that still means that you can vote for school, for your mayor, for your senators, because your senators for the state is not a federal position, like your state senators, not the senators that you said to the federal government, but the state senators, the state House, your state judiciary, like who you want for your judges, who's going to be governor. So you could, in a state that is completely red, if you said they can't vote for federal elections, but they can still vote for everybody else, you could flip everything in the state to blue, with the exception of the senators and the House and the president. So how is this in any way, shape, or form fair? That's the point that makes me so mad. You know, it's almost like putting a cancer on the inside to eat it, eat a person from the inside out, like destroying it from the bottom up, and that's really what they're doing. So anyway, this is from August 30th. GOP senators look to tie crackdown on non-citizen voting to a must-pass spending bill. Lawmakers expecting stopgap spending bill to be necessary to avoid government shutdown. Now, of course, there's the detractors of, oh no, if we shut down the government, it'll look really bad on Republicans right before the election. But it won't, because, as I just said, the vast majority of people say you should have IDs to vote. So this is actually a good thing, even if it shuts down the government. You know, we're always held to voting. Oh, we can't do this now because we'll lose the vote. We'll do it afterwards. After the vote, silence. Then it comes up for the next vote. Oh, well, we can't do it now because the votes are coming up, but we'll do it after the vote. Silence. And this happens for decades and decades and decades. And that's why we're $35 trillion in debt and our country is falling apart. Because they're worried more about getting reelected into office than they are actually fixing problems. They say several Republican lawmakers have called on their colleagues to support attaching a bill that would safeguard elections and require proof of citizenship to vote on an upcoming stopgap spending measure due at the end of next month. Prominent conservative Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican of Texas, and Mike Lee, a Republican of Utah, posted on X this week pushing for the bill, which would require proof of citizenship before registering to vote in federal elections to be tethered to a spending bill extension to avoid a government shutdown at the end of the fiscal year. Here's my problem. I want this for local elections too. Why are we having illegal immigrants voting for what the is going on in my damn state? I don't want that. I want people that are here legally, that are invested in our system, that are giving to the system, that is someone who we actually want here being part of the system. But if you're not part of the system and you're here illegally, I don't want you voting for the school janitor. I don't want you voting. Go. You're not even supposed to be here. And if it's a big deal and it's really that important to vote, then wait in line like everybody else that came here legally to become a legal citizen. Then vote your ass off for whatever you want. But what happens? Poor people, let's go Democrat. They give us free.
Hello there.
Immigrants, let's go Democrat. They give us free.
Hello there.
And our taxes and our deficit, all on the backs of us that are working hard and trying to do the right thing. And then you have these immigrants getting handouts. Of course, Democrats are just buying votes at this point. And at some point, once they get to the big enough majority of Democrats, your First Amendment, gone. Your Second Amendment, gone. Fourth Amendment, gone. Fifth Amendment, gone. Amendments are going to start sailing out of the window. And before that happens, you're going to get probably a constitution of states that say we are no longer listening to the federal government on the following issues. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. We're not listening to you anymore. We're out. We quit. But we're still part of the union. We're not seceding. We're just not going to listen to your mandates anymore. And at a certain point, either we're going to have to shrink the federal government back to where it should be, which is tiny, tiny compared to the states, or the feds are going to flip their shit and try to go too far, and that's where we get into the civil strife stuff. And if you keep saying, well, dude, it's probably not going to happen, or what are you going to do? Are you going to arm up and go. It's not going to happen like that. You want to know how it's going to happen? I'll show you how it's going to happen. Here's how it's going to happen. Oh, you don't agree with the federal government? We're going to lock you up. We're gonna take you to court, and we're gonna make you spend every frickin' dime you have to defend yourself until you're broke. And we're gonna make an example out of you. If you don't think they'll do it, look at how hard they've gone after Trump. Look at General Flynn. Look at Mike Bannon. Right? They've been held in contempt of Congress. They're sitting in jail because of that. You know who is it? What is it? Garland or Mayorkas? I think. Wait, was it Garland? Either Garland or Mayorkas, or both of them. One of them was held in contempt of Congress. Is he sitting behind bars? No, of course not. They're going to throw Trump behind bars, but Biden did half of the same things or more, as did Clinton, as did Bush, as did the rest of them, but they're not sitting behind bars. If you don't see that it's only going one direction, I don't know what to tell you. And then when people are like, Trump's an enemy of the Constitution, he's going to dictator day one. These are low information voters, and they will vote themselves just like every other country that goes this direction. They'll vote us into socialism. They'll vote us into communism. I know we have very few amendments left. Trust me. It's not like I'm asleep at the wheel. I know that we have constitutional amendments and we have our rights that are God-given in the Constitution, and they're being ignored. And they're being ignored. So to get the Constitution actually upheld, you need to sue for that. They're trying to break the Constitution at every opportunity they have. And then you have to sue just to maintain your own rights. Trust me, I know. But it's always worried about the next election and the next election and the next. I'm so tired of it. This is why when somebody says, oh, well, you just like Republicans. I'm not a Republican. I fucking hate Republicans. There's a couple of good ones. I'm not a Democrat. I hate Democrats. I don't think there are any good ones. I think Fetterman is the closest thing, ironically, the guy with brain damage, is the closest thing I can call a Democrat with principles, is the one that has a little bit of brain damage. How ironic is that? I think there are some good Republicans that are doing the right thing, but I don't think they're Republicans so much as they're constitutionalists. They're MAGA, America First, whatever you want to call them. Those seem to be the only ones that are good ones anymore. They say there isn't a good argument against attaching the SAVE Act to the September spending bill, Lee said in one of several posts promoting the idea. Other Republican senators, including Tommy Tuberville, Republican from Alaska, and Rick Scott, Republican, Florida, also shared their support for the legislation known as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act in posts on X. However, they didn't go so far as calling for the bill to be taken up as part of a continuing resolution to extend the current spending bill. Texas just announced that it has removed 6,500 non-citizens from its voter rolls, almost 2,000 of which illegally voted in past elections. We cannot ignore this threat to our democratic process. It's time to pass my SAVE Act to stop illegal voting, Scott said. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's only 2,000 people. That's not enough to sway elections. But it is. Just because it may not sway, for example, the president, it might sway who your senator is. Look what happened in Georgia in 2000, or in 2020, I mean. Look what happened in Georgia for the Senate, for the House races. They were determined by very small numbers. What happens in your local elections? A lot of those are won by 500 votes. The SAVE Act was initially passed in the House of Representatives by a vote of 221 to 198, primarily along party lines. 5 Democrats split with their party to support it, including Rep. Coulier, a Democrat in Texas. So that's probably a purple position. Another Democrat in Texas, a Democrat in Maine, a Democrat in North Carolina, and a Democrat in Washington. That's pretty surprising. Earlier this month, the ultra-conservative House Freedom Caucus expressed its desire to see the measure included in the stopgap government spending package next month. Without the SAVE Act's inclusion in a continuing resolution, appropriators risk losing the support of Freedom Caucus members, hoorah, and enduring a potential government shutdown. The Freedom Caucus is the best thing that ever happened to the Republican Party and our government. Because the Freedom Caucus, as much as you may not like, I don't know, Bober and what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're the only ones that are like, you know what, I'm not here for a big paycheck. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that they're saints or anything, but at least they're saying, you know what, this is not what people want. People want the government to do what they got voted to do. Stop screwing around. And we're going to do what the people want. There are very few people in the government that really make you think like, hey, I do feel that they're there for us and they want to make a change for us and they want to do what they said they were going to do. That is an increasingly smaller and smaller amount of them. The Freedom Caucus or America First or whatever you want to call them, at least they give it.
Hello there.
At least like they make you feel like, okay, at least somebody in the government cares about what I want as a conservative or as a libertarian or as someone that wants freedom over, authoritarianism. Chip says, I love, by the way, Chip Roy. I don't agree with him for everything, but I do like Chip Roy. He's another good one. He says, only Americans should vote in U.S. elections. 87% of Americans support proof of citizenship to register to vote, but the Senate is blocking the SAVE Act. House GOP must force the question by attaching the SAVE Act to a 6 months funding bill before the September 30th funding deadline. See, Democrats, if Democrats wanted this, they would just do it. Democrats have no problem saying, we're going to attach this to the bill. Well, if you don't pass it, everything's going to shut down. Then shut it down. Democrats will do that because it's the uniparty. Conservatives won't. Conservatives are like progressives on, I don't know, dope. They're just slow at it. Republicans are afraid that newspapers or online journalists that are left-wing activists are going to write something bad about them. Like, they need to stop worrying about that crap and just say, hey, you know what? CNN's propaganda. I don't care what you say about me. That's what they should be doing when CNN, hi, I'm from CNN. Can I ask you a question? No, I don't talk to activists. And then walk the away from them. How stupid can you be? Like that whole segment, and that's why they're trying to shut down the internet. That's why they're going after Elon Musk. That's why they're going after all these conservative talking heads on the internet. It's why they're going after Musk. It's why they go after Rumble. It's because they know that legacy media is dying, and they think the way that they'll get the people back is by silencing people on social media. So you have to go back to CNN and mainstream news and the authoritative voices. That's not happening anymore. It's not happening. They're on a lifeline. They're on their deathbed, and they know it. And so now people are finding the truth on the internet, and they want to shut it down. That's why they're trying to go after free speech so hard. And so thus, since we can spit the truth and they won't, that's why people are moving to conservative. And Trump's doing a lot of, I'll give him this much, he's doing a lot of podcasts. He's talking on the internet a lot more than he is on mainstream news. I think that's a winning move. That's going to connect to the younger voters. You're not going to change the mind of an 80-year-old Democrat or an 80-year-old Republican. Let them watch their Fox News or their CNN and then pass in their sleep and start focusing on the next generation. And stop worrying what the media says about you, for God's sakes.